Hi, my name is Galen Wade, and today is a good day for planting a flag. It's October 21st, 2024, and for a long time now, I'd say about 30 years, I've had this idea brewing of a story I wanted to tell. And we're getting close to Halloween here. It's fall in the Berkshires, fall in New England. And I'm going to start the telling of this tale today. My intention is to kind of get some of these videos up and out so that I can just sort of start showing what I'm working towards. So ultimately, what I'm wishing for here is to tell the story of the poet Percy Shelley and his wife Mary Shelley, and their love, their life, the tragedies they went through, their creations, their times, and something about their legacy. So, towards that, I've been I've been working on this for, like I said, on and off for 30 years now. It started, let's see, well, it started with two little blue books. I have them behind my computer right here that I bought at let's see, here we go. So it's a two-volume set of the complete Shelley. I think at the time that I found these books, all I knew was the Ozymandias poem. And once I started digging in there, I've read all of it. I just was astounded at how much material there was there that I just had no clue to its existence, really. I knew the story of the romantic poets and, of course, something of Mary and Shelley's life. But there was so much there that just was kind of news to me. So I started digging. And one of the beautiful things about this collection is that the poems are often introduced by Mary. And she gives a little snapshot of where they were, what their life was like. And in some ways, this was her best attempt to try and tell something of Percy Shelley's life, because one of the conditions of her being supported by Shelley's father was that she not do that. She could not write Shelley's biography if she wanted to continue the support that he was providing for her and their son. So right there, it's just these network of things and these little kind of visions. And so I want to tell the story in a way that I think will be kind of unique. And this, besides the little my two little blue books with Shelley's poems and Mary's notes, I must have like 30 books at this point. I have diaries and letters from the principal players, most of them, and we'll get into that. I'm really excited to kind of revisit some of my research. It's been a while. This project has kind of been dormant for about, 13 years, something like that. We'll say 13 in honor of Halloween. And so one of the places where this kind of culminates for me is myself in New York. I was working for a theater company. I was in a company called Darluz and worked with this amazing theater director named Reza Abdo. And we were living in New York, my ex-wife and I, in the same place. That was after we got married, actually. And it was with her that I found these little blue books when we were driving up the coast of Massachusetts on our honeymoon. So henceforth, she shall be referred to as the ex, because that's where we're at now, but it's all right. But at the time, as I said, we were in New York City, living in an apartment. And one of the things I would do when I had free time, which was not often, but I started haunting the New York Public Library, which I really loved. And after a while, in doing some of the research that I had done, I realized that there was this book that had been put out by, I think it was orchestrated by their son, Percy Florence. I'm going to have to look that up. A lot of the details are kind of just still floating around in my head, but with this process, I'm going to solidify things and work towards making a treatment for what I envision as like a pretty awesome, like 8-episode horror series type of thing. And toward that end, it will be called Shelley and Mary. And the reason that's important to me and why I'm kind of staking my flag on this thing here today is that I have the slip somewhere that I filed, but in my research at the New York Public Library, I realized that there was a book that had been published by Percy and Mary's heir, their son, and it was called Shelley and Mary, and it was a collection of their works kind of combined in a way that sort of my little blue books are, but that's more Shelley based than Mary. And so so yeah, I found out that this book existed and that they had a copy of it at the New York Public Library. And somehow I managed to talk to someone and convince them that I was enough of a Shelley scholar that I got to hold this book in one of the rare books reading rooms, which is a thing they have at the library. So I wasn't a scholar, but I guess I've been a lifelong enthusiast. More than that, but also, my work as I envision it is a work of fiction in which the details kind of can flow through, and I want all the details to be as accurate as possible. But so I have been writing, and I'm going to read what I wrote today because I started this process. I've found, actually, let me step back a minute. One of the reasons this just kind of jumped out at me not too long ago, again, was that I went through and I was watching kind of the whole canon of the Mike Flanagan horror universe. Like there were things before, like Ouija Board 2, I think. But starting with Gerald's Party, things start getting really serious. And you go from that into The Haunting of Hill House, which I thought was amazing. I personally really, really prefer it when he's the one directing all of the episodes. The Haunting of Bly. Oh, then there was Dr. Sleep, which when I first heard about ages ago, I was very, very skeptical about. But I kind of bit my tongue, and I watched a little bit of it on TV once, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I got I bought through Amazon a director's cut of that, which was kind of in parts, and it's fantastic, fabulous as well. And then there was The Haunting of Bly Manor, and then Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass is one of my favorite things I've seen in ages. It's so beautiful. I really was just absolutely stunned, and it felt like a kind of masterpiece that had been culminating with this other work. And I'm sure he's got more to show us and give us, but this really, 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 Midnight Mass really was a kind of stunning take on a kind of plausible vampire story, I guess I would say. But I've always been more of the Frankenstein monster than the vampires. It's just my personal thing. But Midnight Mass, I pulled it off. Absolutely stunning work. And the night that I watched the final episode, it just pinged into my head, the Shelley and Mary thing. I was like, holy cow! It just made me realize that there was a model for this story that could combine horror and love and history. And so I just got really excited, and I have all this research, and I went looking for my books. They were in storage, and found most of them, but a couple I was missing. And it just started this thing, and then I unearthed these notebooks that I've been, that I have. Like, okay, there's this one I found in a box, and this was where I started the Shelley and Mary thing. I was living in Pasadena at the time. There's information about the Pasadena Library, some books that I took out, and I think, where is it? Somewhere in this is my first instance of using this sort of Shelley and Mary title. And there's some pretty great notes as I was doing, I think I was reading Mary's diaries at the time. And so then I found another notebook recently where I guess I'd revisited the whole idea. And this was from 15 years ago. And it says, Shelley and Mary, Shelley and Mary, Shelley and Mary. Hi, I'm Galen Wade. And then it's got some addresses. It looks like I started this this notebook when I had an office in Great Barrington, which I no longer do, but I'm at my home here, also in Great Barrington, and it's 15 years later. And so here, I'm renewing the project, 2010, and got some notes, and then I started again today. So this is going to be my hashtag Merry Monday, where I go in and try and start both weaving together some threads and pulling things apart and seeing what kind of tapestry I can come up with as I work towards a treatment of this material. So I started doing that this morning. It came out rather quickly, and then when I was done this morning, I kind of wrote an introduction. So we'll start with that and then see what I got. And it's just, and I'm going to start publishing these, I think, on Substack. So that's kind of my plan, with text and like this video, potentially. I don't know. We'll see. So toward a video reading of these words I just wrote. For a long time now, since, say, the fall of 1992, I've wanted to tell a story, and am attempting to do so now. It is about the poet Percy Shelley and his wife, the author Mary Shelley, and their love, their lives together, their times, and their enduring legacy. So I've read, studied, collected books, taken notes, sketched timelines and scenes, and mostly until now, I've imagined it as a big screen epic full of tragedy, sorrow, and love. These, then, are the fruits of my labors. Hashtag Merry Monday, hashtag Percy Shelley, hashtag Mary Shelley, hashtag love, hashtag lives, hashtag times, hashtag legacy. So that's a sprawling preamble. And then let's get to what I wrote this morning. So this is kind of another introduction, but it starts rolling. I'm going to skip that one. I don't need that. Let's go to Shelley and Mary. I need to create a treatment to register with the Writers Guild of America, West Coast, because it is time for me to tell this tale to the best of my abilities. It has been a long time coming. It starts with 2 little blue books I found in an antique store when I was traveling up the East Coast from Mystic to Rockport to Gloucester and beyond, northward, as part of my honeymoon with my first wife, henceforth referred to as the ex. Scene: Shelley chasing his sisters around a graveyard with an electrical gadget that makes their hair stand on end. Actually, that should be scene number 2. Start with Byron in the water staring back at Shelley's funeral pyre, in which the body of the poet is burned. But what is it about his heart that it will not be consumed? What is it that taunts them all like a riddle, that laughs and dances in the flames? How is it, who is it that will snatch it out of the flames as Mary collapses into the sand? Cue to poor Harriet, Shelley's first wife, drowned. Poor Ophelia. Reference classic paintings from showing Ophelia's drowning in Shakespeare's Hamlet. Who is on the beach with Mary? William's wife, Byron. Byron holding Shelley's skull, another Shakespeare reference from Hamlet. Scene: back to Shelley in the graveyard with electricity. Cue the monster in Mary's famous novel, Frankenstein. She is the monster, made up of random cadaver parts and more or less the face she sees in the mirror. She is holding a dead infant. She reaches a hand toward the mirror, which becomes the funeral pyre. The group, Shelley and Mary and Byron and who? The Williamses, Trelawney, gathered at Byron's for the telling of tales. Shelley. I am writing a story in which Prometheus will finally be freed from his torments. You see, it seems the height of absurdity for the poor fellow to be tormented for eternity for bringing us fire, that rarefied and crucial element so central to our evolution as a species, and to be tortured in such a cruel and savage fashion, to have his liver plucked out by a beast over and over again in an endless loop. He raises his glass to the fireplace. Cheers to Prometheus! I intend to rewrite his ending. Mary, but... Scene, Shelley standing before his father after being kicked out of Oxford. You wrote a pamphlet in defense of atheism? Why, yes, I did, father. But that's inconceivable. Quite the contrary. I was following up my conscience to the letter. That's unconscionable. That's what I meant to say. But Shelley says, yes, I am actually following my conscience. Scene, Shelley and Mary's lone surviving son holding a copy of the freshly printed Shelley and Mary book, which I myself have held in my hands. I wish I had a picture of it. Scene, Shelley's first encounter with Godwin, Mary's father. Godwin, you were expelled for writing in defense of atheism? That's marvelous. Shelley, of course, I admire your work immensely, but I must confess that I am most enchanted by the mind of your wife, widow. I'm sorry. Shelley and Mary at Mary Wollstonecraft's grave. Shelley, what can you tell me about your mother? Mary, next to nothing, I'm afraid. She died giving birth to me. Does that make me a monster? Shelley, far from it. You are that rare creature who has been blessed by sorrow, tragedy, history, time itself. Your mother was a revolutionary who died fighting who died fighting. And here you are, the very flame itself. So that's what I got started with. Episodes of their life, there's so many. I mean, one of the most poignant moments, I think, in all of the literature is Mary kind of describing how she had a dream after one of her children died. And she was by the fire kind of bringing it back to life and warming it by the fire and rubbing it. And I think can see a direct line from that to Frankenstein. And people forget, and this was kind of, in mentioning the Mike Flanagan thing, I had this flash that, oh my God, this would be perfect. And then I started the next series, Midnight Mass. The Midnight Club, which, again, I didn't like nearly as much, but I much prefer it when he's in control of everything. But it was all right. But in the first scene, there's a mention of Mary Shelley, but one that I almost entirely disagree with, where there's, this precocious intellectual child who's like, Mary Shelley, she gave birth to the Gothic, blah, 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 and this whole notion of Frankenstein. But the thing that I think people often forget is that Mary was living with and married to one of the greatest poets the planet has ever seen at the time that she was writing this. And there was a synergy between them for sure. And I'd like to emphasize and point that out. And the fact that one of Shelley's great works is Prometheus Unbound, and the subtitle for Frankenstein is Frankenstein or A Modern Prometheus. So things to keep in mind. I'm going to just kind of keep doing this, I guess. Keep writing, keep trying to share some of the things that are coming up. I'm Galen Wade. This is a product of Wade Works Incorporated, copyright 2024, and end transmission.